This is 10 Disciplines for Transformational Teaching. I'm Mike Zigarelli. For most people, great teaching doesn't just happen. Whether we're in the classroom, in the pulpit, on stage, on the radio, or anywhere else, to teach people with excellence, and in a way that can change hearts and minds, requires more than just some good ideas and lots of preparation. It requires that we engage in the kind of lifestyle and professional habits from which outstanding teaching naturally flows. Just as athletes can't just do it when it comes to performance, neither can the best professors, speakers, pastors, and other teachers. Each of these extraordinary people has adopted an entire training regimen that allows them to perform exceptionally well when they need to do so. As a result, whether a person is stepping up to the plate or stepping up to the microphone, excellence is automatic. For those of us who teach, this training regimen might be better understood as a set of disciplines, habits that enable us to do things that we'd never be able to do without them. After about 20 years of college teaching and probably too much time on the speaking circuit, I want to humbly commend 10 of these disciplines to you. They've been indispensable to me, and perhaps you'll find a few of them helpful as well. I've organized these 10 disciplines into 3 categories: lifestyle disciplines, which are some general habits that enhance our teaching; design disciplines, which are habits that help us to structure our communication logically and persuasively; and disciplines for the day that you teach. As the term implies, these are things that we can do in the critical hours before we deliver our message. The goal of these 10 disciplines is nothing less than genuine transformation of the people God has graciously placed in our care. Here's the first one. Remember the sacredness of your task, and thank God for giving you the same profession as His Son. Many of us got into the teaching profession because we thought it was fun, or because we enjoyed the rush of being on center stage, or, more nobly, because we just wanted to give something back. Whatever the case, for lots of folk, that eagerness to teach dissipates over time. The excitement is gone, supplanted by the perspective that this is an incredible amount of work, and thankless work at that. The burnout, the ingratitude, the lack of affirmation, and the inability to gauge whether we're even making any difference with all this effort cause us to become a bit jaded. This was once a glorious calling. Now it's just a job. If you want a measure of where you are with all this, simply compare how you feel about the beginning of your work week with how you feel about the end of your work week. We should look forward to the former at least as much as we do to the latter. But when we lose that sense of vocation, we belly flop onto a slippery slope toward a TGIF mindset. That's as far from the Christian ideal as it gets. Instead, recover the habit of thinking about your job from God's perspective. When you step in front of people, you're stepping onto sacred ground. More than that, all of your study, your design work, your preparation for teaching, and so forth, are themselves holy activities. Even listening to this broadcast and reflecting on it can be worship, not just work, if you choose to make it that. It's basic Christian theology, but it's also neglected Christian theology. Everything we do, we're to do for God. That means, among other things, we teach for God. We teach to honor Him and to represent Him and to participate in His kingdom work here on earth. And beyond that, when we teach, we also stand in the tradition of Jesus. Did you ever consider that? God sent Jesus to be a teacher, just as He's sending you to be a teacher. He's given you the same vocation He gave His Son. It seems that the only appropriate response is gratitude, and maybe awe as well. For so many of us, though, our response is complaint and murmuring. That's a perspective issue. Many of us have lost our sense of the sacredness of our teaching. We can change that if we want to. Do whatever it takes to keep before you the divine nature of your work. Screensavers, post-it notes on your computer, a Bible in your desk, the habit of communicating with God as you prepare to communicate with others, regularly thanking God for your calling, an accountability partner to ask you the tough questions. There are dozens of ways to remain in a faithful mindset about your teaching. Use some of them daily to overcome the toxic secular perspective that your teaching doesn't really matter. It indeed matters very much to God.